Hey everybody, and welcome inside the Chancellor's Suite at Nick Gerald Stadium and on the Broncos Sports Network. Great to have you for another week of the Pigskin Press Talk, talking Bronco football. I'm broadcaster Andrew Chapman, joined on the show today, as usual, by the head coach Richard Hayes, and a couple of Bronco football players are with us. It's Malik Head and also Bryce Council, defensive lineman Malik. Running back Bryce, so representing both sides of the football here today as the Broncos get ready to return home against Bowie State. A 1 o'clock kickoff this Saturday against the Bulldogs, coming down from Bowie, Maryland. FSU on the road last week up in Petersburg, Virginia, with a meeting against the Virginia State Trojans. And first, Coach Hayes will break down a little bit of last weekend's ball game, 35-18, the final score, as Virginia State defends their home turf. I go back to something that you mentioned last week, just leading into that matchup, that you guys were ready to face a little bit of a ticked-off Virginia State team. They were coming off a loss in the week prior, so they come home, they get ready to take on the Broncos, and I'm just curious, your perspective, coaching staff, when you're on that opposing sideline, what it is like to face a team that is a little bit ticked with the previous results, comes home, and is obviously playing for something.
Well, it was kind of an eerie pregame, Yeah. Normally in pregame, teams are jaw-jacking at one another. They kind of didn't say much to us. We didn't say nothing to them. And so we came out, and I thought we started the game off really good. We knew we could run the ball on them. We went up 7-0. Then we threw an interception. They went up 14-10, and we felt really good about where we were. And then we did something that was really uncharacteristic of us. We allowed 2 deep balls to go over our head. One at the end of the second quarter and one midway in the third. So they kind of got that 14-point swing on us that we always seek out, trying to score right before half, knowing we're going to get the ball back right at the beginning of the third quarter and try to put another score on the team and try to put them away. It kind of happened to us this time. And once that happened, we kind of had to abandon what we had planned, abandon our run game and try to throw the ball and try to get back into the game. So hats off to them. Like I said, they played with a lot of desperation, and we didn't match that. So they got a game up on us, and we'll have to look to do better next time. Going into that fourth quarter, you guys were able to put 8 points on the board, still trying to keep within a couple of scores. Overall, just start to finish, did you feel like the sideline still had energy throughout the fourth quarter? I felt like I think once they threw that second touchdown in the third quarter, we kind of lost our energy a little bit. But then, as coaches, it's our job to make sure those guys continue to play, and we always preach if something good happen, keep playing, something bad happen, keep playing. And I thought we kept playing. We tried to stretch the game out as long as we could. We just ran out of time. Yeah, good headline coming out of the game, though, from this guy right here, Malik Head, the Week 4 CIAA Defensive Player of the Week. Got you for 7 tackles in that game. Malik, couple ended up tackles for a loss as well. Also got to the quarterback once. Going into Saturday's game, how did you feel just physically and mentally, too, after going through some of the film leading up to the game?
Well, the goal was to go 1-0. Of course, that's our goal every week. But shout out to our scout team, our O-linemen I go against every day. They really got me ready and prepared for the game physically and mentally. And the mental aspect, it was just about knowing that we got to go out there, they got to play us. And we can't play against ourselves, they got to play us.
Mm-hmm. And, obviously the team result, what you're searching for at the end of every weekend, but to bring home a little bit of hardware, a little bit of league recognition, something that you take some pride in?
Yeah, that's my first time getting the award ever. So I'm keep working to make sure it's not the last time.
Yeah, and Bryce, you were involved as well on the offensive side of things. A couple of pass receptions for you, as well as all the running backs getting involved with DJ Alston returning to things as well. You seem like you've had a good chemistry as well too with Damari Daniels, Joe Owens, those guys as well. When you kind of get onto the field and you're lined up behind those guys, what's your communication just been like this year, and how do you feel like your relationship with them has grown as a player?
Well, my relationship with them grew, like being with them in the off season and the summer, just working with each other, running routes, running the ball, and our relationship is better this year than it was last year because we understand each other more.
Right.
And with me getting more reps in the backfield, we're talking back there, communicating.
And we kind of threw him out there early in the year. We had him playing like a slot position and trying to work on a couple things, getting the ball in space. So he's had some experience trying to catch the ball, and now we took him back home to where he's accustomed, where he's comfortable in running back position. But he does a great job for us catching it out of the backfield.
But going into this preseason, maybe a little bit of experimenting with the route running.
Yeah, he didn't like it a lot, but
I was trying to, it moved me around stuff. I wasn't complaining, but I wanted to come home running back.
Yeah, I remember seeing that depth chart about a month before the season, seeing you in the slot spot.
Yeah.
A little bit of an eyebrow raise there, but no doubt versatile player in Bryce Council. Malik, you come over from Livingstone, where you started out your college career. What was your outside perspective, I guess, when you were at Livingstone playing for that program of Fayetteville State? When you kind of watched the Broncos from afar, what were some of your observations of this program?
Playing them in 2021, they had a pretty solid offensive line. So everybody asked me who was the best offensive lineman. I went against Greg, the center, in 2021. That was probably the best offensive lineman I went against. The outside looking in, I knew I had to play my best game against Fayetteville State because simply they was the running the South when the divisions, the CIAA were there. So it was just about giving my best effort on the field, playing my best ball, and I just had all respect.
And glad to have him now on the Bronco Blue as well, and over with the FSU program. Got to touch on the quarterbacks as well, Coach Hayes. You have Damari Daniels, Joe Owens, both kind of intertwined again in the offense on Saturday against Virginia State. Two different skill sets, as we've touched on, between Joe and Damari. I'm curious, your perspective on the offensive side of things. When do you feel like is the perfect moment for one guy or another to take over, depending on whether it's game script? Is there a certain strength that each quarterback has where you say, all right, this is the best point in the game to kind of plug in what this guy does?
Well, it's kind of funny because we went into the season saying, okay, we're going to go with Joe, but in every third series of every game, we're going to put Damari in. All right, and then so that it played out like that. Second half of Pembroke, Damari takes over, and the rest. We go down and win the game. He plays the whole second half.
Right.
We started him against Valdosta, I think it was, and he gets a little banged up. We put Joe in.
Right.
Joe starts the next game, gets a little banged up. We put Damari. So there's no straightforward answer. Like every week we go into the staff meeting saying we got to establish who our quarterback's going to be. But it's always something that goes on. Even last week, somebody got a little dinged up. We had to make a switch. So it's a good problem to have that we got two guys that we can count on and go to when one's not doing so well. And we trust me, we want to have one quarterback, but it just hasn't panned out like that for us this year so far.
Yeah, but the good news is when one guy steps off, the other's been able to plug in well and help keep the offense moving on the field. Bryce, just curious about your football background, when you started playing, and who were some of those early idols for you, whether it was a coach or maybe just an NFL player that you liked to watch growing up.
I've been playing football since I was like 5 years old. So I started early.
Yeah.
Who I looked up to, I'd probably say it was like when I started playing football more, probably like Le'Veon Bell.
Okay.
And I started to kind of like lean towards his game. But I'm a speed guy, so patience. I had to work on that, but I got better at it. But now I feel like I'm more Alvin Kamara. Like I love Alvin's game.
Look at that pass catching ability.
The pass catching, the balance, the tempo.
Yeah, the balance. Were you a Panther fan growing up? Who was the NFL team?
No, I watch Commander fan.
Commander. Okay, all right. I think
They might be realists here. Just saying. I know you're conditioned to not be a believer, but they're having a good start to the year. Malik, same question towards you. Who are some of those early football influences for you, and maybe the guys you watched on the defensive side of things, if you were always a defensive player?
When I played football, I started playing football at 10 years old. I played both sides of the ball, but high school, I played offensive line all 4 years. But when I got to college, I started playing defensive line. So one guy I've always looked up to, he retired now, Aaron Donald. And I look at Chris Jones, a little bit TJ Watt when I work at the end. And that's pretty much it.
Who had that conversation with you about making that transition from the O-line over to the defensive side of the foot? Was that a Fayetteville State coaching thing, or maybe something?
My first school I was at Middle Georgia before I went to the coach asked me, I gave a typical recruit answer, like he said, you make the switch from O-line, D-line. Every recruit gonna say do whatever best for the team, but he wanted me to be honest. I said, yes, sir.
All right, and then here we are a few years later, defensive player of the week for the Broncos and the CIAA. Bowie State coming up, Coach Hayes, early kick, 1 o'clock, HBCU Go. We'll have the television broadcast of that upcoming game. We'll have updates for you as well on the Broncos Sports Network, FSUBroncos.com. What are a couple of the big keys to that one going in? Maybe a couple of the Bowie State offense that you guys will have to be wary of. Well,
they play two quarterbacks as well. Both of those guys are pretty effective when they're in there. They have a very intricate running game, some outside zone stuff that we don't see a lot of. They're pretty decent up front on the O-line. So we're going to have our hands full. You know, for us on the defensive side, it's always what I tell you every week. We got to get off the field. These guys know that. We got to get off the field on third down. Offensively, we got to focus on putting the ball in the box. We can't always settle for field goals. We have got to score touchdowns. You know, we're 1-1 in the conference. We're looking to go 2-1. This is a big game for us, and we're going against a team that traditionally we haven't done fair too well against. So it's really a big game for us because it's the next one, but also adds a little bit more meaning to it for us.
Yeah, the Broncos 2-2 overall in the year. Bowie State coming in 1-3. A loss for the Bulldogs last week against Winston-Salem State. 28-14 was the final score in that one. Broncos look to get back in the win column as they return to Fayetteville for the 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, right here at Nick Gerald Stadium. Once again, HBCU Go. We'll have a separate broadcast crew coming into the building for that one, but we'll still have updates for you, scoring updates on Broncos social media. That'll do it for this week's edition of the Pigskin Press Talk. Special thanks to Bryce Council, head coach Richard Hayes, and Malik Head as well. I'm Andrew Chapman saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.